Hello and welcome back to CollectaThoughts, the show where we talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! It seems. Yeah, this is the sixth entry in the series and my fifth review with Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's Tag Force 6. I know, you probably couldn't guess that's what I was going to review. You're very surprised. But anyways, this game doesn't have English. How the hell did I play this game in a language that I don't know? Well, I didn't. I played a patched English version by Mario and the Xeno Translations team. So, thanks to them for making this game playable. It is not a full translation, but it is enough that I can finish the game easily, especially since I already played Tag Force 4 and 5, which play very much the same. And for a while, that was actually my thought as well. They didn't port this game because it's more of 4 and 5. It's gonna be exactly the same game, and so why would they port it, especially since the sales were kind of probably not great here in the West. And that's all fine, those are all regular reasons. Except this game introduces XYZ summons, which we would then not see for another 2 years on the 3DS, so it was like this weird blank space for people who mostly experience Yu-Gi-Oh! Through video games, which, while a niche market, I do think accounts for quite a lot of people who just don't really have anyone they can play Yu-Gi-Oh! With in person. Like me. And this was also around the time I kinda dropped Yu-Gi-Oh! For a while, so I am that niche that got affected by this weird drought of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the West. Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games, I mean. But yeah, getting into the actual review, again, it is very much the same map with some slight changes, which once again don't really matter too much since there isn't much to do besides dueling. In terms of the objective of the game, how do you grow hearts to progress the story? Well, you talk to these people. I know the game is in Japanese, but it doesn't matter because talking to people actually means doing small simple mini games, and these ones are translated thankfully by the English patch. And of course there's still the gift system. Personally, I didn't notice a big change from 5 to 6 in terms of how the progress goes. There might be a change, but if there is, it's definitely not as noticeable as it is from 4 to 5. And that's how granular we're getting with this, because the difference from 4 to 5 was already very small. Like I said in my last review, these are like Pro Evolution Soccer releases or FIFA releases. I didn't do that example last time because PES is the Konami one. These are Konami games. That was the point of the reference, okay? But anyways, I still had fun, And I think one of the major reasons for that this time around was picking a more chaotic partner and a chaotic deck as well. If chaotic is the name of a deck, I'm sorry. What I mean is I made a resonator deck, which I find to be a very explosive and dangerous deck. Maybe it isn't. Once again, I'm not the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Expert, but I think that deck makes a lot of crazy things that are very dangerous to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. That's the best way I can put it. And so you can probably deduce which character I decided to progress the story with, and that was Jack Atlas. I don't know much about this character either. I remember slightly from the anime him being a bit of a Kaiba type guy. So I should like him because I do like Kaiba a lot as a character. But I don't know, most of this game is in Japanese and I really didn't care for the story that much. Regardless, I had a lot of synergy with his deck, of course, because he also runs resonators. And so most of the game was fairly easy. The Tag Force 5D games are harder than the GX ones. In general, I would say. Maybe, I'm a bit biased because, again, as Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets more complex is also when I started not following the game as closely, so maybe, I'm just not as good. But regardless of that, I do think that even from that perspective, this is still a harder game than the GX series ones. And once again, it is very dependent on who you tag with and what kind of deck you have, of course, because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And so, of course, because I had a pretty good deck, a pretty good partner who had the same type of deck, I actually ended up having a pretty easy game. And I'll be honest, this was also when I started getting a bit bored with the series in terms of the rate of progression. I was tired of kind of just always having to get new cards from the beginning, so I kind of just used a bunch of cheats to get all the cards. I did this later on, mind you, but still, if that like makes you think that my review is invalid, that's fine. But yeah, I just got all the cards so I could have fun and make like a super competitive deck. That was pretty fun as well. I'm just kind of like at this point where I've played so much of these games that I just want to like mess around with them. And that's kind of what I did with Tech Force 6. That being said, when I said in my other reviews that, hey, the best game in the series is yet to come and it's not in English, this wasn't the one. I'm telling you right now that this is just Tech Force 5 with XYZ summons. And there's not even that much. It's clear that it's one of those situations where, it's very early in the XYZ summon era and there isn't all that many cards yet. I mean, it should be obvious since they made a 5D game and not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal game. So while I did have a very positive experience with this game, it is very hard for me to go out and recommend it. Since you can't really play it unless you play the English patch. The English patch is not complete, and of course, to play the English patch, you do have to either jailbreak your console or play on an emulator, which I know a lot of people won't do, even if for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tag Force series, playing them legitimately is a bit of a pain in the ass, especially since the later the game, the more expensive it is. Even regardless of how minimal the difference between them might be. But regardless, this is the last one in the 5D series, and for a long time this was the last one in the Tag Force series. And as that game, it does end up being the best one. If you know Japanese, it's hard to not be like, yeah, just play this one, it's the best one, even if it's only because it's the one that has the most cards. But because it's such a marginal thing, I do end up feeling like, well, then just kind of play whichever one you have access to, if you have access to any of them. At least in the 5D series, since I do think there is a much more significant difference between the 5Ds and the GX games. Not only in the mechanics of how you progress the game, but simply in the addition of the synchro monsters. While the XYZs in Tech Force 6 feel very much just like an extra, the synchro summons are very much not. They were the meta at the time and they are very much the cards you want to be playing with. So it actually ends up being a situation now that synchro monsters are also not the hot new thing, that maybe you want to play GX because you want a more simple Yu-Gi-Oh game, or maybe you legitimately like this era of synchro monsters and you want to play the 5Ds. And I think in that way it actually is a really cool experience because it allows you to play these eras of video games with minimal hassle, really, without having to do any major kind of setup. And I think Konami knows this is a big selling point because of how they have dealt with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game series recently, with stuff like Duel Links Evolutions, which allows you to play through several eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the way that they were back then. But that's more a theme for the next review. Yes, there is one final Yu-Gi-Oh! Tech Force game. It is not a numbered one, it is a special one. Wink wink, that's the name of the game. But regardless, I'll leave it at that, and for this game, I'm giving Yu-Gi-Oh! Tech Force 6, do you wanna guess? It's 7. A 7 out of 10. Because that's what I gave Tech Force 4 and 5, and this is basically the same game once again. I'm sorry if you watch this review hoping for a more serious thing. If you want a more serious thing, go watch Tech Force 4 review. That's the one where I actually talk about the mechanics of this game, because they all have the same mechanics. Regardless of that, I hope that you enjoyed watching, and if so, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting all the things you can do for free here on YouTube. And regardless of that, I hope you're having a good day, and goodbye. I can't believe I'm under the 10 minutes again. I still don't know if that's a thing or not still, but regardless, this time around, I'm not gonna try and reach it for the sake of reaching it. I think I took that joke too far last time. Maybe I didn't. Who cares? I did it at the end of the video, so like you can just click off. No one is hurt by it. I don't know. Does it matter? What do you mean? What, won't YouTube just be like, hey, everyone kind of just clicks off at 9 minutes, even though this video is 10 minutes? Like, come on, you guys have like super intelligent systems. Why the hell do you want 10-minute videos for? Okay, we made it to 10 minutes again. Bye.